Hello, Science-tastic Falcons. So in this video, I just want to show us some steps to make our own bar graph. Today in class, we talked about graphing our own data from our plant experiment. And while some of us are feeling like we're really amazing pros at graphing, I do want to show us a way to graph for those of us who might feel a little bit stuck and unsure of what to do. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I know what data I'm going to graph. So I'm going to write a data table. Remember, when we make a data table, the independent variable always goes on the left. So in this case, our independent variable was type of soil. And our dependent variable goes on the right. That will be what we measure, plant height. All right, I should have two pieces of data. So one is from Mars, one is from Earth. And I'm going to use some class data. In my last class of the day, we had 4 centimeters for our Mars and 16 centimeters for our Earth. This data might be different. Please use your own data here. I'm going to write that. Use your own data here. If you do not have your own data, please use my data. Okay. The first thing we need to do is make sure we have an X and a Y axis. So I'm going to draw those. There's my Y, and here is my X. I like to label them just so I remember which one is which. So as I make this graph, I'm going to be using this beautiful checklist to make sure I get full points. So please use the checklist whenever you make your own bar graphs. That way you'll always know you're going to get 100% on these graphs. All right, the first thing we need is to scale the X and Y axis. I like to start with the X axis. Remember, your independent variable goes on the X axis. So our independent variable should go here, and our dependent variable should go here. There we go. All right, so our scale in this case is going to be the type of soil we used. So my scale for the X is going to be Mars and Earth. My scale for the Y, I can decide what I want the numbers to be. I'm looking at my data and I'm seeing that the largest number I have is 16 and the smallest number I have is 4. So it makes sense for me to count by twos. So I can make sure I get all the way to 16 and I can graph all of my data. So I'm going to start here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Right. Your scale can look different depending on your data. So if your scale is different, that is okay, just as long as you're using an appropriate scale for your data. All right. I also need to make sure that I have units for the y-axis. So I'm going to make sure that my units are going to be in centimeters. So my unit is centimeters. I need to make sure to include that in my y-axis as well. So if I go through, I've done the scales. Now I'm going to write my units right here on the side in parentheses, centimeters, so that's parentheses. Got that? All right, now I need labels on my X and Y. This is to tell the reader what the data means, what each axis represents. So we need to have a label. Otherwise, our readers are going to be really confused. So label the x-axis. I like to label X first. You can label whichever one you want first. But on our x-axis, we should put type of soil. And for the y-axis, we should put plant height. Oh my goodness. Awesome. Okay, so we should have plant height with centimeters on the y-axis. Cool. Now we need to title our graph, and this is super important. It says with IV and DV relationship. That means I need to have a title that talks about the independent and dependent variable. My favorite kind of title to use is the following. So I like to say how, I'm going to write this in blue. Oh, never mind. I'll write it in black and highlight it. How the independent variable affects the dependent variable. So this is kind of a template I like to use. It just helps me write a good title every time. So I need to explain how the independent variable affects the dependent variable. My independent variable is my type of soil, and my dependent variable is my plant height. So if I wanted to write a beautiful title, what I might write is, I'm just going to take that out, and I might write how the type of soil affects the plant height. And you'll notice in this title, I included the independent and the dependent variable. So I would get full points for a title like this. If you want to give it your own shot and find your own favorite type of title to use, that is okay. You just need to make sure that you are including the IV, the independent variable, and the dependent variable. Now it's time to graph our numbers. So we need to accurately graph our numbers here. I'm going to use blue for Earth and red for Mars. So I'll do Mars first. Mars had a height of 4 centimeters. So I'm going to go to 4, draw it down, and I like to color my bars in because I think it makes it easier to read. For Earth, I need to go all the way up to 16. So I just like to make a mark at 16 right there. Color that in. All right, so I have accurately graphed my numbers in a data table. So the numbers in my data table match the numbers on my graph. And I would give myself in this graph 1 point for neatness. This is basically just so I can read your graph and I know exactly where you're getting stuck or where you need help. So please be as neat as possible so I can read your graph. This graph that I'm looking at right now would be full points. So please make sure to use this graph and your checklist to make sure that you get full points on all of your graphs. If you have any questions or you need help with anything pertaining to graphing your data, please message me and I'm happy to get back to you. I look forward to seeing all of your beautiful graphs. Have a great day, Falcons.